Kinya tuge 2020 ri ene bank itakahota gukora raise ita capital billion iko biko higwe kahigo bengi ta KCB hoyaga deposit na 8% makobithia maruri maona 14% for the margin of 8% how no bengi onaga faita ukihigura bengi ri hebe zile wetagio ni thirikari obe ufati utware kuria gwa CBK etagwo capital so ndungithi kwi muingi woe mbeca ati woya uke wige mbeca utaina marome etagwo deposit taking license ndungithi na muthigio ni bengi mwe atatu no muonire bengi mwe at least 4 people no nginya mukoma mwe at least 4 people nigo muhigure bengi odonge ndoka haha ni muthomithie nini wanyu pod chege Consensus TV no ndira tukona topic ya mwanya muno ira ndamuna gatiriri miaka 10 guka ri bengi tigakira 10 itigikira 10 Kenya sia 10 mukanja kamwe no bengi tigakira 10 and I want to dig into that conversation ndimwira niki bengi tigakira 10 niguo moyo kwenderio share cia bengi rahingurwo njeru ri mukona ugi na ugiriku akoria ciuria toni ndi mundu ndirahura no ndenda kumuhigia to mwangi wa Equity athomithirie ndimuteithie mwita ruriri so I'm here kumu enlighten na kumuhingura hakiri muko mukenya niki beko bengi tigakira 10 and muthikari wega biu and I want you let's take into conversation na goge mu convince hoya atiriri miaka 10 guka ri bengi yako yikira makiria 10 so babena atiriri how do you actually start a bank? How do you start a bank? Egoteka kikwanjia bengi yaku njeru one. Nduki own bengi weika. You cannot own a bank yourself. Na muthiki oni muri eri. Na muthiki oni bengi mwe atatu no muonire bengi mwe at least 4 people no nginya mukoma mwe at least 4 people nigo muhigure bengi. Tondu bengi you cannot own more than 25%. So ngana kuigura bengi ndugihigura bengi yaku weiko no kiendaga ndungieja waginya kuigura bengi ndungieja igoti no nginya mukoma muri andu ana. So you need to have for you to open a bank you need to have a shareholding not more than 25%. Now we get the gita Equity ya KCB mena shareholders there are so many shareholders not 10,000 or 2,000 there are so many shareholders so they have to call wako na shares ya girigana you know you become an owner no ule let's dikora go dimo ndemo yate diki yetu gita kira iko Kenya and this is it okay you got a gire hebe zile wetagio ni thirikari obe ufati utware kuria gwa CBK etagwo capital so you need to take that money and take it to the bank to the CBK iyo ni bengi ya thirikari eta float ka eta security kugatiriri moge hekero etaga deposit taking license re nyime kuria ndu kumethia mbeca ciao ri money is safe because you have been able to raise money with them capital float ya wetagio ni CBK ikawa pesa cigana mbere era billion imwe nao ni athi billion 10. As we move on with the conversation, niko kwa kimataifa niki hata mimi thirikari erute kwa capital yako hikura bengi njeru kuma 1 billion to 10 billion. So Russia ni ukenda kwa hikura bengi not actually from 2015 uthikora na bengi njeru rahigurwo. No 2014 ni ukenda hikura bengi njeru mabataga andu ana o mundu na 6 million mara 50. Mugiko muri andu ana o mundu na 6 million mara 50 ni mugahiguria bengi yanyu. And what does it mean to the bank? Oya billion imwe ndirakwira mwari izire. Moya magatwarira thirikari, makaheo marote taka deposit take license. Maheo rotha muthiko imwe inge muoe mbeca. Nimathikireria. So ndungithi imwe inge woe mbeca ati woya uke wige mbeca. Utaina rotha utaina marome etagwo deposit taking license. Ndungithi imwe inge na woe mbeca. So I want you to understand that. Reure for now you need 10 billion. No nigo hikore fegire. Mara at least mukomore adona na makiria. Akwamuriana omura raise 2.5 billion. So the question comes in. Na pesa simwari izire. Isi te pesa cia guthi ukobithia customer. Icio ne deposit. Icio ne iria woya. Wakomie go thirikari eta security. Tondu igwa andu amegunda makira ukaigura kambuni ya migunda. Oye milioni aka magana matano tware. Oye ngiri magana matano tware ku security yaku gandurora. Kana to ria thia borithi. Ukera atiriri niguo umeri niguo rekererio ri wige bodi. So ko capital ni ta bodi wiga kwa thirikari. Gugate bengi ndahingura ringi ngia pesa kwa imwe igire ndia pesa cia andu njike uru nacio kanjo pesa cia andu njure so you need a capital of 10 billion. So this is where the question is coming in na kira gatuma ndimo ya bengi tigakira 10 miaka 10 guka ko capital na billion 10 ri ihotheka maita 1 iko security 2 so to forget that hede ya covid I don't mind money ko he mathire mo to pesa cia kora ikihingo for because of a pandemic came bengi kihinyirika muno andu makire moniko he mathire bengi githondeka hathara. So what happens when you make losses mukagera thina wa liquidity? So liquidity kwa tele pesa ni ciaga bengi because to make sense maybe hemundu kada guka bengi aruthe mbeca aga. So in case we have an epidemic, an pandemic type ya COVID, bengi na cia kwa CPK float body na mutonete float na muna ito body na mutonete ri. Why don't you mutona mbeca fulani, maybe is 1 billion, mutona milioni 150 to maintain liquidity in the short run, moira andu mahote kureha mathiri mucoke muihurie ikira monio mbeca icio cia stop losses. So capital one is used to hedge the bank kana insure bengi in case of a pandemic. Two point yake capital huthagirwo ni absorb kĩndũ gĩtaga losses is when the bank want to absorb their own losses. Is that okay? So, and what do I say when the bank want to absorb losses? Waya float kana body na watara kwa thirikari no njiko mbeca kwĩ mũingĩ, waya mbeca kwĩ Wanjikũ wakombithia kama waya mbeca kwĩ Wanjikũ na interest rate ya 10%, wakombithia kama una 16%. So profit yaku ni margin no wakombithia between the interest rate on the fixed deposit issued on the fixed deposit na interest rate ya maruni maria waneana. So nikiona tu geta bengi ta bengi ta KCB waya deposit na 8% makombithia maruni maona 14%. So for the margin of 8% how no bengi ona fighter. So it is 1 million, they make a profit of 8%. 8% is around 8,000. It's around 8,000 in a month. How no hamekota kuriha aruti a wira, marute all the expenses, marehe aruti a wira, make maundu maingĩ. So what magabe cia Wanjikũ makombithia Njeri ai kuriha ri, what happens? The bank will go losses. So ona bengi maikombithia mbeca ciao ri nimeka kindu twitaga provision. So when the bank are lending you money nimakomba no chance ya provision of bad losses. So kĩndũ kĩrĩa gĩatũma ndĩmwĩre bengi itigakinya 10 mĩaka 10 ĩgũka ri, birioni ici 10 iretio nĩ thirikari ri, birioni icio 10 it is not even money to trade, it is money that you got idea at central bank. There is no kuhota kuoya birioni ciake 10 kama no akomie gwa thirikari. Nobody with already mathaga kwa mathiri. So why birioni ciaku 10 ukomie gwa thirikari tu ukagĩtaga deposit license no jikoya mbeca kuma kwĩ mũingĩ no ngĩhota kwa birioni ciake 10 akomie gwĩ thirikari weta njĩra tha ici ri nĩguo kwĩna thĩna wa mbeca ri, nĩguo kwĩna thĩna wa mbeca ri no ngĩhota kuoya birioni 10 ukomie handũ wĩika kana mũrĩana no who has 2.5 billion raing'airwo in Southern account. So that is this nĩarĩa matirĩrĩ bengi tigakĩra 10 bengi iria ciĩkuo tuge bengi iria ciĩkuo ta Bank of Africa, example Bank of Africa, tuge bengi gitu twĩtaga, you know there's so many these banks, you know, maybe Bank of Africa nĩ mũĩ bengi ĩtagwo ABC banks. Some of these banks capital were 1 billion and they were very local banks. Okora mena branch inya. Now they need to raise a capital of 10 billion. 10 billion nile ona magere izima komia kwa thirikari. I think it will be bigger. But it cost nyingi muno more than besa iria ona road book yao. So like you know, it's not economically make sense. So fake siko nyitana tuge fake to get ya Equity na KCB Equity mena besa ino kometie kwa thirikari de bakometie billion igere 2.5 billion na icio cio magata komia kwa thirikari. KCB isuga na Equity 2.5, KCB 2.5, tugeta ta fege tukio ita NCBA bank ya 2.5 sinyitane tuge kindu kimwe like ore mwonire fege etagwo NIC na Bank of Africa ita Bank of Africa ino kile gitwika NC Bank of Africa na NIC so sigatoka NCBA. That is merge. So most of the banks we have to merge. Sia majire niko mali ziko capital pesa ziko kwa kwa thirikari. And this sounds aram iko ine muno. And where does aram come wrong? Fake siko nyitana. Either simoti kemenya no fake niko nyitana iranyitana. Beyond the scenes ile mara maja. To maheto miaka 3 makomalize that capital of 10 billion. And they cannot be able to use that. So that's ile mara craft. Ile mara yasima fake nyingi muno mara craft kitu itaga acquisition. Not even acquisition. Some will go through acquisition. Ige fake ige ego ka through merge. Ile mara yasima na prepare memorandum of association. Memorandum of understanding ma prepare fake nyitane to ni makarure ekinya tuge 2020 30 re any bank itagahota ko raise itaka capital billion iko biko higwe kahigo. So it's very risky. So mondo yako kamwero now understand me. Fake ko to maybe for the last 8 years in a market base negative marketing you cannot outdo their market share. You cannot outdo their market share. Because you got branches looking for customers, investing in marketing, investing in technology, investing in HR, in office. There's so many costs. Other than you come here billion, you need a lot of money cia go furnish my office. So other than go na billion ikomi esco capital maybe you need another 2 billion go furnish my office. We can build bold ya Korea, my licenses, all the licenses that are very required. So it's a lot of cost. So you want to affect ya kuja no see you need 15 billion. You can go at ready. See you want to manufacture. So I raise a lot of questions as far as opening a new bank. Who have 10 billion, who have 13 billion lying somewhere? One of the questions is that. Two, let's see, okay, let's say go to Ohoro affect Jerori, you know, it's not, you know, and I see na bank in NCBA, Bank of Africa. This is not the Bank of Africa, it says Commercial Bank of Africa. This Commercial Bank of Africa is an internal. Customer mali NIC na Commercial Bank of Africa CBA, Commercial Bank of Africa CBA, NIC na CBA, Commercial Bank of Africa. Man internal, they became one thing. So my company, they combined their forces by one thing. So that was just customer transfer. No more that it's very tough here to open a new bank. You need to open a new bank and is 40. And what the government trying to do? The government is trying to reduce. So the government na shiori ko and so get the type of equity. You see equity na harokirari and you have some other money in KCB. All the rest your route that one no money in your carry. Ona kakamukwa kaile ne kana ya kaile. So kana moto we get the pesa yake ukori. So if one bank falls, si harokira shiori. The game harokira you know why? Harokira shiori. Like to get equity, you know, when you go deeper into the banking career field today, account to CRR account at Central Bank of Kenya. CRR account una fegi kona fegi sure the kona account kwa CBK, the clearing house. Atene nyuma na sheki ya equity, equity rada kila modo wa KCB. Seki ask kana the code, you need to have a float there. You go get the for example to get horo wa ATM data can switch. Can switch so like operate what was CBK. If one bank fails, it fails all the other banks. So if one bank fails, the whole sector is down. If one bank messes, it messes the whole sector. So I wanted you to understand this. Na kitu kingine tuma thirikari itware kwa capital kwa igorori. I've told you one thing. You know, to sustainability. You know, when you make the decision in CBK, it make a decision here, not now, not tomorrow. But it's making its decision in the next maybe 10 to 20 years. Let's see. Capital ama fegire. Not the capital ama fegire Kenya. It is at not capital NPL not performing in only A14. It is at 14. It is at 14%, 15%, 16% to some banks. Like what or million ima fegire ko bidiare 140,000, it is either it is never paid to or it is paid in arrears. And you know, now we get a million yake mwari. Niya fatara pesa yake. Niya fatara pesa yake when he walks to the bank. Go take the fake. You get the pesa yo ko to kobidirio. Ni wa zero pesa yo ko to kobidirio wajiko. The bank will never tell you that. You need that to have that. You need to have that confidence. You can terminate that. There's a liquidity. You can terminate that money anytime that you want it. So why is this coming around? And Piero ya batari. And Piero ya batamo no ore. E pasistire. And Piero ya pasistire. Very good. Again, I had to take me So, if I come back in a capital, the gari. Moira Soketa and the bank has not gone public yet. Nego is the best from the NSC. What would happen? Capital we used to absorb losses. You got to carry that in a gari. I'm going to but your capital mafegi. Kuma billion yemwe. Kuma na ko pati ko capital mafegi. Kuma siligi billion yemwe. Ginya siligi. Kuma siligi billion yemwe. Ginya siligi billion ikomi. Because the government is able to predict that I don't know money call him. So the bank needs to konjitana ikora capital nene that on a fake get the billion name where no matter what CBK they take from the 10 billion you get a call what CBK is fruit ya CBK day money 1 billion from that money material within a year more that a new investor so more that a new investor but without a strong capital the banks the bank will be at the brink of collapse. So hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. The banks will be at the brink of collapse. So I'm trying to tell you, in the next 10 years, because of all that, because non-performing never the amount of Pierre Igoro, na gutire mundu gatokoreza kwa capital kuma ya billion ikomithia komie gore kwa CBK, it won't be possible. Gutire mundu kona better cia komie kwa CBK. So I want you to know, ogethi na shares ya fegi, you need to have that. This is the kind of the knowledge that you do have. How is the industry performing? Ada madara to kwa mathire. Now, how do you fegi to a scam? How this I don't say they scam themselves. One, todo. Fegi said they copy the amaro di masa ki wadire. They are limited. Market they are very limited. How do I say? Like for example, to know the ogethi ko only fegi when you go to the bank and borrow around today. You want to go to the bank and borrow a loan. One, what you call na mogoda, two corner, that had security. Either mogoda can occur na gari. What you call na mogoda, the mogoda you can do a ancestor, do a call like a fully, to a corona mode my year. So, maybe you have very nice expense and you have the capacity to pay the loan. But, you don't have the hard security that is required of you. Which option do you have? You can only go to the same bank and get an unsecured facility. What happens when you go to the bank and get an unsecured facility? It's so expensive. So what happens when the capital is expensive? Most of it has interest, both interest and both principal interest. So you're not sustainable. Two, the banks are not sustainable. So there's a way we need to have a discussion in the country. We see how can we bring sustainability in the banking sector too. Look at the SUV, not hire the vehicle because the corner secondary market, the corner aftermarket here, a very the mono. Do Garia Koro a Yama 15 years old. So what can I lady? All of that is set at the mouth of Maori. Then over the amount of Maori, it is not sustainable. Then, Fegi, I copy the runner that you are did or going to go default instrument that only. Kurikana CBK in a reporting, they have to do a provisioning of bad roads. They have to do the provisioning of the provision of bad roads. They just there's not sustainability in this sector. And I can't get that's why I'm coming into this space. How can you bring sustainability? Because I want to teach you what is the road ecosystem. How do we handle issues? How do you go to the bank and borrow nice money? How do you go and borrow good money? And bank the method very liquidity. We want to have issues with transaction or deposits. So we are going to bring sustainability in the whole sector. So the banks need us and we need the bank. Do you understand me? The bank needs that and we need the bank. And I'll come and hold a microfinance show. I'll do a microfinance show. One of this very few days. But as I touch about, I think today I've touched on core capital. And even as I finish, I want to touch on liquidity. Something very small on liquidity. And what is liquidity? Liquidity is what really. Leo ya pesa si watu wana pesa fegiri. Fegi copy the giri. Mafadhi copy the giri. Mafadhi copy the giri nyanya. Giri itigo fegi. Nigo oya korutari okay okole. So liquidity is it's a 20%. So 20% of our million, of our 1,000, it's 800,000. Of our 100,000 is 80,000. Of a million it is 800,000. Better she might take a fair giri. Giri, all your million where if you copy the guess 800 might go 20,000 at the bank. So maintain liquidity one no certain liquidity na but as you can the bank to have a lot of transaction deposits. What do I mean when I say transaction deposits? Ko iga pesa senyu fegi mokerutaga. Yo iga pesa senyu fegi mari iga pesa senyu fegi o muthenya mokerutaga. If all of us can agree to look at to back the till, like one, we bring sustainability in the sector. Like you can be the cheaper interest, loans will be highly available. So then you are going to Shyrock and you're going to Shyrock and so many other expensive ventures where you're going to get through. So we need to have a summit. We need to have this conversation. You come and talk out these things. Not that we just so my kazi kugege aiwa moya murathime show no sponsor to ne Nickma Home and Office Furniture. They go to really resort. Thank you.